Hello everyone, welcome back to the session 2 of day 1 of the Enthusiastic Summit. We have with us Nidhi and Nilanjana, the founders of IrizPro Solutions. For this session on business analytics, we are going to discuss about the various nuances of business analytics, the latest trends, the technologies which are used in business analytics, and you are free to put on your questions in the comment section. For the introduction, Nilanjana will be taking up this session. Nilanjana has over 15 years of experience in the domain. She has worked with the leaders like Citibank, Deloitte, and she's now running IrizPro Learning Solutions. Over to you, Nilanjana. I think we are up for a very insightful session on business analytics. Yes.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Samyak, and hello everybody. Nidhi, would you want to just introduce IrizPro once, and then I'll just start with the topic straight away?
Right. Thank you so much, Nilanjana. Hello, everyone. Glad to be here. I'd like to introduce IrizPro Learning Solutions to everyone. IrizPro Learning Solutions is essentially an online training platform. We primarily believe that learning happens when there is a cohesive learning environment. So for learning to take place, you need a learner and you need a teacher or a trainer. So that's why we have all live training sessions at IrizPro. We mainly deal with domains like data science, business analytics, digital marketing, and programming. Nilanjana is a co-founder and she's a business analytics expert. So today's session will, of course, be taken over by her, wherein she's going to guide us on the do's, the don'ts, the technology, what's happening, what's hot, what's not in the domain of business analytics. For reference, if you'd like to check out, you can always visit www.IrizPro, that's IrizPro.in, IrizPro.in. Thank you so much, and over to you, Nilanjana.
Yeah, thank you, Nidhi. I guess it's okay. I guess it's interesting if we have this section, make it more interactive.
Hello.
So,
Hi.
hello. Hi, Tanvi. So, just saying that before I start,
I think your video is not.
there is an issue with.
Tanvi, there is a little problem with Nilanjana's camera, so she won't be able to share the video. She'll be able to share her screen though.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
I think Nidhi can keep for the video part, so that's fine.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, sure. We can start, and I'll take up the questions from the audience, and we can do the interaction.
Yeah, I was just trying to understand how do we take the questions from the audience. So great, you're going to give it to me. I will just share my screen just to kind of give a reference as to what this is. Let me know when I can share. You can see actually. Nidhi, do you have the presentation with you? Can you try sharing it? Because I am not getting the option to share. I mean, it's not getting activated.
Okay, give me a minute. I'll try.
Okay, just a second. Guys, just let me know if you can see the screen now. Yeah?
Yes, Miss Nilanjana, it's visible. We can see
Alright.
the screen.
Sorry for that. I think issue.
Not an issue.
Yeah, down.
Okay, it's visible.
Yeah. So, just to start with, I mean, when we are the topic today that I'm going to talk on is business analytics, trends in business analytics. So before we go to trends, I would like to just give an introduction as to what we understand as business analytics. What is business analytics, right? So it's actually, and the definition that you see on the screen, this is typically a Google definition if you search business analytics, but just give you a very basic understanding. Business analytics is basically, as you all know, that data is becoming of primary significance in industries and organizations globally. And there has been various innovations in place, IT related innovations, wherein we can now capture huge amount of data. And when I say data, it is customer data, it is marketing data, any sort of data, digital information that we have, structured or unstructured, can be captured now and analyze, and there are systems in place which can store that much amount of data. And what industries and organizations are now moving towards is to be able to leverage that data. So earlier, if we just take a step back and we go to the say the 1980s or the 90s, their data would be mostly in form of hard copy files. So that's why when we see movies and when we see any movie which is which is basically from that time period, offices means huge uh, cupboards with huge files on them, right? So that was data then, but now things have drastically changed, and as expected they would change. And now data is all soft copy, all system based, and now you would see servers in those cupboards rather than files. So data has come a long way, organizations have come a long way in with respect to capturing customer data. And now this much data that the organizations are capturing these days, what to do with them? Obviously you store them for your own reporting purpose, but more importantly, it is more interesting to find out unique trends from the data, unique patterns from the data. So this data that is getting stored is of it's like a gold mine waiting to be explored by analysts who have that skill and the capability to bring out interesting trends from the data that is being stored. So, and when we say data again, in our mind immediately an Excel file opens up, right? And you have rows and columns and that kind of data, which is very natural, that what we are used to looking at data, in a way we are used to looking at it. But that kind of data is usually called structured data. In today's world, when you must have heard the word big data, a lot of unstructured data has come into place. So big data is nothing but a lot of data, volume of data, and the velocity with which it is multiplying. So the data world has become very interesting of late, with a lot of unstructured data coming into place. And again, when I say unstructured data, I mean data, your social media data, your text data, when you interact with customer, the information and the tone in which the customer is speaking, that can also be analyzed and captured. So it's not just traditional row and column data, but it's also this text data and these other implying underlying data that is available in all these social media platforms, is also very rich in information of customer preference, of prospective fraudsters. So a lot of this data can also be mined and used by the organization to kind of bring out these kind of insights, like what is the likelihood that a customer would kind of go for a new kind of product that the organization is trying to launch in the market, what is the interest level in a particular brand, risk from a risk side, banks are working heavily with data and analytics to kind of come up with strategies which would help them identify customers whose likelihood to default in a loan is high than compared to customers whose likelihood is low, and accordingly they have been given loans and the interest rates are fixed. So coming to the utilization of this kind of data, so what we have established by now is that the world has changed. Of course, we all know that the world has changed the way they have been capturing data. Now a lot more data is getting captured, and hence organizations and industries are on their toes to kind of utilize this, leverage this information that they have into their decision making, into their business strategy design. So hence, what has become important is a career where we are hearing this term a lot, which is data science, data scientists. Earlier, we used to call them business analysts, or data analysts. Now, it is it's just a terminology change, but what they usually do almost remains the same. Now we call them data scientists. They have become, because of course the people who are running the business, the people who are running the organization, will not have the skill to be able to, or more, in all probability, they may not have the skill. I wouldn't say will not, but they may not have the skill to leverage this huge amount of information that they are able to store now. So they need somebody to kind of work on that and bring in that set of skills to kind of work on that data and give them those insights. Hence, the career, which is the data science career, has become extremely important, especially in today's world. So I mean, looking at this one slide, I have given you a story here as to the emergence of data and the emergence of significance of data, and hence how the data science career has come to the forefront. But I'll just move ahead. I'll just hold a thought there as to what data scientists usually do. I'll just move ahead and give you an insight into what are the categories of business analytics. When we say business analytics, coming back, so okay, just taking a step back, all the story that I gave few minutes back, basically when an analyst looks into the data and brings out insights, that process is called business analytics. So that is entirely, so just learning from the data, being structured, be it unstructured, you combine the data, you aggregate the data, you slice and dice it and bring out meaningful insights, actionable insights. These are the buzzwords that are there, and bring it out to the senior management of an organization so that it helps them and it aids them to make decisions or in a way that it gives them a competitive advantage in the market. So if there are two organizations, organization A is capturing all the data that is available in just not the structured data but also the unstructured data. Maybe they have all that infrastructure in place, but maybe they are not having that much of skill to from an analyst point of view to kind of process all of this data and bring out those actionable insights, whereas organization B, who is investing equal money in capturing this amount of data and basically have the similar infrastructure in place, but additionally they will have an analyst who's going to process that data and give them that insight. Obviously, organization B will have a more competitive advantage as compared to organization A. And every organization currently have understood, be it in the manufacturing or real estate sector, be it in the BFSI sector. BFSI sector heavily uses data analytics nowadays. Be it in the FMCG sector, of course, there are so many campaigns that they run. There's a huge interest in understanding customer behavior there. So every sector in the economy is now hiring big time analysts who have the skills to learn from the data, understand the data, and give out insights. So I will just stop here before I go to the categories of business analytics and try and understand if there is any basic level queries that you have from the term business analytics. What does it mean?
Right. So the audience, if you have any questions, you can put it on the YouTube chat stream. In the meantime, Ms. Nilanjana, there have been a few questions that people had pre-submitted. I think one of them relates to the discussion we've had till now. So, what does it mean to be industry ready for business analytics?
Okay, what does it mean to be industry ready for analytics?
Right.
Specifically
So,
from a
yeah,
skill perspective is
right,
what we are looking at, right? Yeah, of course. I'm going to
right.
touch upon that. Yeah, sure.
Okay, sure.
Anything else?
Not until now. Not until now.
No worries. So I will just go to the skills part and what it really takes to establish yourself in this exciting world of data
Right,
as a good data analyst. Or
right,
I don't usually use the word good, bad, and all. It's all relative. But basically, a confident data analyst who is confident to take on this challenge. So I'm going to go to that career side of it just to give you a brief insight before that into what are the types of work that typically of the categories that are there in
right,
business analytics. So when I say, okay, business analytics, I understand there's an analyst who is doing something with the data and bringing out some meaningful insights out of it. No, but there are three main streams of work that you can get employed into, and or that can be your area of strength. You don't have to be a master in everything regarding data. You can pick up an area and you can make that your you can be an SME in that area. So what are the three main areas that are around which business analytics basically works? First is descriptive analytics. Descriptive analytics is all your visualization. So when you hear the term business intelligence in the market, it is basically referring to the work that you do with which is basically pertaining to descriptive analytics domain of business analytics. And what is descriptive? It is basically gaining insights from the historical data. So it is basically telling the organization what has happened till now. So when we say descriptive, again, the word descriptive means you're describing the past and you're describing the present. And it is no less job. It is not just calculating averages and means and medians. It's not calculating basic stats. It is important to realize that it's extremely important for you to have a flair for visualizing your data, to kind of able to work with the data in such a way that it brings out the story to the organization. So and when we say story, it's basically what has happened in the past, and you bring it up which are your, say for example, which are your most profitable customer segments. So you should be having that skill to understand from the data, okay, what is the segmentation analysis, how do I undertake that, how do I then present it to my organization, to the senior management in the organization, because that is extremely important, especially when you're involved in descriptive analytics kind of work, because there you have to basically you will be involved in creating dashboards, you will be involved in creating reports which would be easily and objectively able to throw out that message to the senior management that this is your risky area, this is your underperforming area, this is where you should go ahead and put in more resources. So segmenting your data into whatever required, whatever your business problem is and what you're required to look at, and then basically going ahead and presenting it in such a way that it is easily consumed by the senior management to whom you are actually taking that report to. So this requires skills like, as I told you, data management skills, because earlier it was easier. So when I started my career in the early 2000, that time we didn't have the unstructured data part. We only had structured data. It was very easy, I would say, for me to in fact get accustomed to looking at that kind of data. And there are tools available where we can use. Basic Excel can give you a lot of insights into a structured data kind of a thing. But now when the advent of unstructured data is also in the market, wherein you have to learn text analytics to understand the sentiment of the customer. So there's a huge topic called sentiment analysis also, which is in the market these days. And this is all making the descriptive analytics part very exciting, because before you go for any kind of prediction and forecasting and pricing and all, you want to know what are the trends in your data. You want to know your customers. You want to know your risky segments. So how do you kind of bring that out from the data is important, and for the organizations to that then go ahead and do some predictions or forecasting and bring out a strategy out of it. So descriptive analytics is a starting point for any kind of business analytics that you would want to finally go ahead and do. The skill levels for this is knowing platforms like Power BI, like Tableau. Sorry, just yeah. So knowing platforms like Power BI, Tableau, these are all data visualization platforms. These platforms essentially helps you to be able to work around with your data, and mainly it's all about graphs here. So you kind of how unique in a unique way how you can present your patterns that you've identified in the data. You can either give it in a row column way, or you can give it in a pie chart, or you can give it in a maybe a more a combination chart. So it kind of gives you it gives these Power BI tools and Tableaus, these gives you that ammunition to basically able to make your data attractive, make your insights attractive, and at the same time clearly giving out the message that you want to give out to the senior management. So descriptive analytics is in true sense what the business intelligence implies, and these Power BIs and all are the tools that are used to kind of work in this domain. Quickly coming to the other two domain, there is prescriptive analytics and there is predictive analytics. Again, if you become a data scientist, you don't have to get so there are two ways to go about it. One is you know all of these type of work. So what you are able to do descriptive analytics, you are able to predict, you are able to also do prescriptive analytics, or you establish yourself to be an SME in any one of these domains. Both have their demerits and demerits, but what we are typically seeing these days is larger organizations usually go for people who have a focused experience into a one kind of problem solving, and that basically helps them to create center of excellences in their organization, within their organization. Whereas if you go to a smaller organization, say for example, because my background is BFSI, so if you go for an NBFC or a microfinance institute, they would be expecting you to have knowledge on all these three categories. Whereas if you go for a Citibank, if you are an excellent data coder, or if you are an excellent programmer, or if you are an excellent BI person who can do your descriptive analytics very well, then you are valued accordingly. So we have seen in the market that the way they seek the skills in a data analyst is it's little different with the size of the organization and the complexity of work that they do. So predictive analytics, as the name suggests, it is predictions, and this is where mostly your AI and your machine learning techniques are gaining a lot of prominence. This is essentially where I'm not sure about the level of statistics that you guys would be aware of, but all your regression analysis comes into this category, the predictive analytics category. It's nothing but forecasting. So learning from your past and then forecasting in the future. That is what an expert in predictive analytics does. So you see that we have connected the three categories because they're all interconnected. So somebody who is excellent in descriptive analytics will pass on the information to you as to say, this is the data, these are the segments, this is how you look at the data. And then if you are a predictive analytics expert, you will learn from that experience, that observations, and then you're going to use it in your prediction for the future. So that is how a team works in an analytics project. There would be people who would be excellent in looking at these trends and patterns and graphs, and then they pass on the information to somebody who is excellent in predictions, in implementing the regression analysis and implementing more statistically heavy algorithms. And then there is another group of analysts who are more focused into prescriptive analytics, and prescriptive is basically nothing but your optimization problems that you try to solve. So given these constraints, say cost constraints and supply constraints, what is the maximum that you can achieve? So that kind of analytics, when you do a lot of optimization, that kind of analytics is called prescriptive analytics. Now prescriptive analytics is organizations do use this kind of analytics, but mostly it is applicable to the supply side, the supply chain side of the economy, where there's a broader group which is termed as supply chain analytics, where you do a lot of optimization, problem solving. But the main core of a business analytics process is descriptive and predictive, even today. So again, going back to the skills that you need now, I mean, which was a question that we had earlier. I think we also have the skills. Okay, I don't have it here, but I'll just tell you. So the kind of skills that you would need to basically make a mark, or maybe become a confident data scientist, is, first of all, you should, I mean, in a very basic level, you should have a flair for data management and data processing. If you are good with numbers, if you have a flair for managing data, and when I say managing data, essentially what I mean is to be able to able to grasp the idea of handling huge amount of data, preempt issues that a data can actually have, like there can be missing values, there can be duplicate values, there can be various other abnormalities with the data. So you should have, first of all, this is a very intuitive quality that usually data scientists should have, and that is the intuition of how to handle data. Now that no course specifically will tell you, this is something that you would have inbuilt in yourself. But having said that, it can also develop the more and more you work with data, right? So that experience also brings you to that level. But that was more from a qualitative perspective. From a more objective perspective, you need to, I always say to our students also in IrizPro that it's a pyramid, and it's basically a triangle wherein you have to join all the dots to kind of become a confident uh, data scientist. First is, you should have knowledge of statistics, basic statistics or advanced statistics, if that is the course that you have. Or if you don't have a course on statistics, if you don't have a knowledge on statistics, it really pays well if you can do a basic course of understanding the statistical concepts. Now again, you don't have to sit and derive equations, or you don't have to sit and derive any huge statistical differential calculus and all that you don't need to do. But basic statistics, like what does a regression do, what is a normal distribution, those kinds of terms that are there, basic stats course, basic stats understanding is needed for you. It's a prerequisite for a data scientist. Now why it is a prerequisite? Because of what do you do with the data otherwise? It's just not you. I agree, there are platforms in the market where you don't have to know much of what is going in the back end. You just input the data and it gives out results. But that will not take you too far unless and until you are able to interpret the results that platform is throwing out. You won't reach much you basically won't be able to cater to the objective that you have started your analysis with. So understanding stats, basic concepts of statistics is required for a data scientist to be able to make a mark for himself. Second part is basic knowledge of coding. Now again, data, that is taking me back to the data management point, wherein I was saying that we should be able to manage data. Now when I say manage data, is just not Excel, because the world has moved beyond Excel. There are platforms like Python, SAS, R, where the huge capability of managing data very fast and in a very optimist it optimizes the data processing into a large extent as compared to what basic Excel does. So when people ask me, okay, I know Excel, can I start being looking for a data science job? I would say a big no to that, because of course organizations do impart training. If you go to an entry level data scientist, you will get training, you will get trained on the current platforms that are being used in the organization, but it always helps for you to have some knowledge of any one of the tools that are being mentioned here. So that is the second part in the pyramid that I was talking about. So this is the, so if we are visualizing a pyramid, right side of it is your statistical knowledge, left side of it is your programming knowledge, your these statistical platform knowledge, and then when you bring it up to the, these are the two solid bases that you need, and the when you bring it up, on top of it, you need to understand the industry for which you intend to work. And I think that is very important, which at least when we started off, or that is something that people usually don't kind of value much. And I'll just come to that. Before that, I'll just talk about the platforms again. So when you know the statistical knowledge that you have gained, as I told you, you are not expected to sit and write a regression equation. You're not expected to derive anything. You should be just able to know what one algorithm is doing, and what the tools that are there, these platforms that are there, are going to help you implement that knowledge. So like for example, as I was telling you, a lot of data is available down, structured, unstructured. There has to be a tool to kind of able that, so to kind of aggregate that data together in a comprehensible format, so that you can use your statistical knowledge to kind of on that data and bring out the insights, right? So though knowledge of those tools is very important. So hence SAS, I don't know if you guys are aware of, it has been the market leader for the longest time in statistical analysis and in analytics as a whole. But now, and R has been very competitive with SAS. R is preferred, largely preferred, because it's an open source. It doesn't come at much at a much cost, at a very high cost as compared to SAS. But now and what is being not mentioned here, and what I would like to mention, is Python, which is really gaining a lot of importance in the market, in the data science market. A lot of data scientists and programmers are moving towards Python because of the packages that are there, because the basically that I don't want to get too much technical into those terminologies, but basically Python provides a more flexibility with respect to analyzing your data as compared to SAS and R. And large organizations are moving towards Python as their basic analytics platform. So statistical knowledge of analytics platform, SAS, R, or Python is important. Python is something which is now, what do I say, topping the charts. But R is also R and SAS is also something that is desired. So if you have knowledge in any three of these platforms, you are good to basically start your career in data science, along with your basic knowledge of stats, right? And then the third point that I would wanted to come to is the domain part, wherein right from the college, it's good that you basically understand which is that industry that you're interested to work on, because obviously domain knowledge comes as and when you work. You should be everybody says you should be open. You should wherever you get a good exciting opportunity, you should just go for that. But I would say, for example, if you are a data scientist, then you're free to, I mean, then you are not getting restricted to a particular kind of job, right? A particular kind of industry. Then you're free to choose your industry of interest. I would say that that is an important thing as well, because if you are trying for a data science job, if you have some insight on how the industry works, for example, if you are applying for a bank, then you need to understand what are the dynamics of the banking sector. You need to understand where the data comes from. So that some basic understanding of the banking sector itself and from a data perspective is important. Similarly, if it is an FMCG company, then what are the trends in that particular industry? From a data perspective, because you are going to speak mostly on data. You're not applying for a sales and marketing job, you're applying for a data science job. So you need to understand, where the maximum data, what is the alternate data sources that these FMCG companies are going for. Like for example, I'll just give you an example. Like for banks, there is, I don't know if you've heard, there is a credit vidya company who has come up with a score which is based on alternate data. And when we say alternate data, it is the unstructured data that I was talking about, wherein it's just not the information that the bank and the credit bureaus have about a customer. It is also the customer's SMSs that this credit bureau company is basically analyzing his bill payments based on the SMSs. Of course, they take a customer consent before they analyze those SMSs, but finally they come up with a score for each of those customers. They just have to download their app and they come up with a score, and that score is used along with other, your CIBIL, your credit bureau score, and your bank internal model score to make a decision. So now it is just not credit bureau, or it is just not the bank's internal data, but it's also this alternate data that various fintechs and other analytics, hardcore analytics based companies are exploring to give up basically an assessment of the customer to the banks and other lending organizations. So that is one example, but you should be aware of what is happening with respect to data in that particular domain where you are interested in. Similarly, in the healthcare, there are a lot of interesting clinical analytics that goes on. So you kind of need to be aware of that domain as well. So these are the three main points wherein you need to be aware the skills, the prerequisites that you need to have to be able to establish yourself as a prospective data scientist who is looking for a job, right? So how can you get statistical skills? Of course, it you can take a course. You can also do your own basic reading. You can make your own notes on it. It's not very difficult. You can go for a mentorship kind of a course with somebody who is already an expert in that area. How do you get a skill on platforms? There are many courses. IrizPro, we ourselves provide a lot many courses on basic stats as well as these platforms that are there. We have courses on Tableau and BI, which is again the descriptive analytics part of it gets covered there. So yeah, these courses are there in the market. The courses relating to basic stats is also there in the market. How do you get understanding of the domain? That is something that is based on your research and your interests. So that's something that you wouldn't get in any course as such, but you will understand. You will have to do your own research to understand, to grasp what is happening in that particular domain that you are interested in, right? So I hope that has answered, Tanvi, the question that was raised earlier with respect to
Yes,
prerequisites.
definitely. Yes, definitely. I think we have a few more questions. We have about 10-12 minutes. We can take out the questions.
Yes.
Yeah. So somebody is asking, is a skill in business analytics necessary if someone wants to pursue quantitative research?
Sorry, can you repeat that? I couldn't hear you.
Yeah. So Yukta is asking if a skill in business analytics is necessary if she wants to pursue quantitative research. And
Yes,
if yes, so how would that relate? Which skill should she learn in that sense?
yes. So as I told, as I was referring to, business analytics needs these core skills, right? Data
Yes.
managing skills, statistical skills, and these platforms, some basic data coding skills. Now, if you do quantitative research, what is quant research? It is all to do with data, right? So you
Yes.
will have to have an insight into how you can manage the data, how you can then leverage information from the research outcome that you have got. So anything that has to do with quantitative, you need to have these basic skills that are there. That is similar requirement for business analytics also. So if the question is, can a business, is it necessary to do a business analytics course to be able to do quantitative research, then I would say it is an enabler. It is definitely an enabler. But having said that, business analytics course can have various subheadings, right? Like I was telling you, it can be just learning Python, it can be just learning the entire analytics thing where you learn stats and then you go to the tool. So it depends on your current skill level also. If you're only interested in statistics part of it, only interested in the quantitative approaches part of it, then maybe the platform side can take a backseat and you can more focus on the algorithms and the logical understanding of the quantitative techniques. Whereas business analytics course will give you an insight to the platforms as well.
Right. Okay, great. Another question is there as a fresher, what kind of work I might be working in a company? So if it's my first project and I have just completed 2 to 3, I know Tableau, Power BI. So what kind of case studies or what kind of work will I be able to do? Uh,
What kind of work you will be able to do, right?
so what kind of projects are there for a fresher when they're just learn these skills?
What kind of projects? Okay, so see, it depends from industry to industry. I can give you information on for example, the BFSI industry that I belong to, the business and financial institutions who heavily use analytics. You would be either would be putting them to a project where you would be expected to predict likelihood of a customer's behavior. So what you would be expected to do is some data would be there, customer data with past customer data would be there, and then you would be expected to learn from that data. And when I say learn from that data, there are various methods and approaches that you can use to kind of bring out insights from their data, and then you can apply basic regression analysis to be able to predict for the future. So the prediction is one kind of thing that you are put to. But if you are just starting your career, what typically is given is the descriptive analytics kind of work that I have usually seen, wherein you are supposed to be looking at a data, identify segments in that data, and the segments based on certain matrices. Like for example, if you're working in a company who is into selling of, say, a particular product, then you would be able to, maybe there are certain campaigns that the company has run, and you would be expected to kind of look at the rate of interest that the campaign has generated, the conversion rates and things like that. So there is no prediction involved there. There is just looking at a particular business problem given to you, and then based on that problem, segmenting, clustering your data, and visualizing it in a way that would be easier for everybody to understand what is actually happening. So descriptive analytics is usually what you start with when you are put into an organization, and then if it is a hardcore analytics based organization, then you can be put into projects where it is descriptive and predictive, wherein you use machine learning and stuff like that.
Right. I think we can do just one more question. So it was a pre-submitted question that students wanted to know. It so happens that they often do these courses and they have the basic understanding of the skill, but when they go to the industry, the skills do not match. So the bridge might be projects. So can you suggest some projects that the students can develop on their own before going to the industry and sending out their resumes?
Sure. So there are these. There are two ways to approach that. One is the courses that you go for case study based courses. So when you go for case study based courses, it won't be, first of all, it should be interactive. I mean, I know it is more convenient if you go for video based courses. It's much more convenient and cheaper. But if you are trying to learn something which is not, what do I say, traditionally taught in colleges and school. If you want to learn something which is largely driven by experience, then you should really go for a interactive course, where you have a live instructor, look at his or her experience, and hence go for such kind of courses. And also a course which will definitely give you more case studies than just course material, wherein you're given. And when I say case study, it's like, for example, if you're learning, say, Python, there are various things that you can learn from there, right? So you can say, okay, how I import the data, this is the code for which you use to import the data. Now this is the code for how you use to clean the data. That way it goes on. But what I mean is a case study where you actually give a data, and then you say ki, these are the issues that I am looking at and I want the data to solve it, and do the back calculation. So you just go take real life, I mean, when I say real life, basically simulated business problems, and use that, and implicitly you will learn the basic data handling tricks while you are addressing that business problem. So case study driven courses are important. Another one is, there are these sources that are there, that the websites that are there, like Kaggle is one of it. I don't know if you guys have heard about it, where there are competitions also that are taken, that are held, where you can apply for those competitions, and there is a business problem given to you and you solve it, and then they assess you on the uniqueness and how you have solved it. So that also sometimes can be put into resumes, that you have participated in Kaggle competitions, and this is what it is. So I have seen resumes, because I am also involved in hiring. So I have seen resumes where such kind of indications are given. So this Kaggle is one a very popular platform, a website wherein you can go and kind of look at. There are a huge number of data sets that you will get there, and a lot of case studies you will get there. You can just work on it, work on it individually, by just trying to understand what the data is, and then you can kind of put that in your resume as well, that you have actually attempted to take competitions on Kaggle. And so what it basically shows to the industry, to the person who is sitting on the other side of the table, is that your intent and your interest in that particular domain, because that is something which is very important. It's just not that, okay, I have just taken this course. I have taken this course and I have participated in competitions, and I have also solved case studies based on my own merit or my own understanding. You can always put, because these websites do give you certificates also sometimes, so you can always put that in front to show that intent. But having said, I think the main part of it is basically to kind of just keep self-learning and keep updating your skills and keep a proof of that, so that you can always reproduce it when needed to your hire, to your interviewer.
Right. Self-learning is important for everyone, from students to corporates to every professional. Definitely. Yes, I think the next speakers will join in under 5 minutes. I'll take a last question if you have the time.
Sure. Please let me know.
Yes. So what do you think is the basic time that a student just starting wanting to start with business analytics would require to get into the industry, or maybe somebody wanting to switch careers?
Okay. So basic time taken to kind of be ready, to be industry ready, right?
Right. Just to be aware of what is happening, just to assess everything and to learn the skill, to get that mindset.
Okay. Average, it takes 3 months on average to kind of prepare yourself. But obviously, self-learning is a continuous process, so that is a different thing. But average, it would take 3 months for you to kind of actually, be industry ready and able to kind of take on challenges in data science, but not on a senior position, of course, starting position, because experience is hugely valued in today's world. In fact, just to add to that insight that I can share, because I'm involved in for organizations. Now the entire hiring premise is shifting from projects, not what his education that you have, of course that is important. The courses you have done, yes, it is important, but larger, higher value is being assigned now to the kind of projects you have done. So that you don't have to have a 10 years experience to showcase those projects, and that is why Kaggle and all becomes important. The case studies that you have attempted, that has given a lot, that has basically gaining a lot of prevalence these days in the industry as to what is that additional thing that you have done, what kind of projects have you worked on. We only speak on projects, we hardly speak on actual skills, because if you are able to explain the projects, you have the skill, otherwise you don't have it. So that is the thing. So projects become very important. Even at entry level, I understand how do you get projects, but you can always get projects by attempting these case studies that are there in the in websites and in the public domain. You can always highlight those as projects in your resume, so that definitely adds a value to it.
Right, right. Thank you so much. I think that would be all. There's one technical question left. How could we
Yes.
tackle multi-source problems?
So there is cloud analytics that are there. Cloud
Okay.
analytics platforms are there, wherein, and the cloud analytics itself is a topic in its own. So you can kind of research on that as well. But yes, cloud analytics is something which has gained importance, where you can handle multiple sources, data sets, and problems for multiple sources.
Right, right. Okay. I think that would be all for this session. I really want to thank Ms. Nilanjana and Ms. Nidhi for joining us and giving these insights. This video will be live on YouTube even after the session. For those who have missed some parts of it, can definitely watch. And the next session is with Mr. Nikhil and Mr. Sashank on choosing a first job in as a tech student. Thank you, Ms. Nilanjana, and thank you, Ms. Nidhi, for joining us.
It was a
Thank
pleasure.
you. Thanks. Thank you, Tanvi. Thank you for organizing this wonderful summit, and it was lovely interacting with you.
Yes.
In case somebody wants to know more about these courses, they want to have more consultation, they can always visit our website at irispro.in and contact our course counselors there. So we're always ready to assist students who want to learn more. Okay.
Definitely, we can put the chat. We can put the link of your website in the chat.
Yeah.
Yes, that will be good. Okay.
All the
Right.
best,
Thank
guys.
you, Tanvi.
Yeah. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.